I was on a business trip when my neighbor called. She said, "Check your home cameras every Tuesday at 1 p.m. My chest tightened. "What are you trying to say?" She hesitated, then whispered. I didn't want to believe it. "But there's a silver SUV every Tuesday. It parks in your driveway for hours." A long silence fell. Then she said softly, "Please just check your cameras." And when I did, I froze because I knew exactly who that person was. And what I discovered next changed everything. My name is Linda Patterson. I'm 62 years old. I'm a corporate accountant with 35 years of experience at a Fortune 500 company in Atlanta. My job is to find what others try to hide: discrepancies in financial statements, patterns in expense reports, fraud buried in spreadsheets. I never thought I'd have to use those skills to investigate my own family. But that's exactly what happened. It was a Thursday morning in early September. I was in Nashville auditing a manufacturing plant. Around 9 a.m., my phone rang. I looked at the screen. Helen Garrett. Mrs. Garrett was my next-door neighbor. She was 74, widowed, and had lived alone since her husband passed away 2 years ago. We had tea together every Sunday afternoon. I answered, "Hi, Mrs. Garrett, is everything okay?" Her voice trembled. "Linda, dear. Can you talk?" "Of course, what's wrong?" She paused for a long moment, then she said something that made my blood run cold. "I don't know how to say this, but there's a car, a silver SUV, every Tuesday at 1 p.m. It parks in your driveway and stays there for 3, sometimes 4 hours. My heart stopped. "A silver SUV?" "Yes." I didn't want to say anything at first. I thought maybe it was a contractor or a friend. "But it's been happening every single Tuesday for the past 3 months. And yesterday I saw someone else arrive too, a black sedan, 10 minutes after the SUV. The person stayed just as long." I couldn't breathe. "Mrs. Garrett, are you sure?" "I'm sure, dear. I watch the street from my window. I know every car that comes and goes. This one doesn't belong." I felt my hands shaking. "Did you see who was driving?" She hesitated again. "No. The windows were tinted. But Linda, I think you should check your security cameras just to be sure." I hung up. My mind was racing. A silver SUV, every Tuesday at 1 p.m. I was never home on Tuesdays. I worked late every Tuesday reviewing quarterly reports at the office downtown, but my husband Robert was always home on Tuesdays. He'd retired early 3 years ago and spent most of his time at home. And our son Michael lived 20 minutes away in Decatur. Could it be his black sedan? I opened the security app on my phone. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. I scrolled back through the footage. Tuesday, September 3rd, 1 p.m., there it was. A silver SUV pulling into my driveway. I zoomed in on the license plate. Georgia 4 Charlie Romeo 789. I knew that plate. It belonged to my husband's car, but Robert's car was always parked in the garage. Why would it be in the driveway unless I scrolled forward? 10 minutes later, a black sedan pulled in behind the SUV. License plate Georgia 8 Delta Tango 425. That was Michael's car. My son and my husband at my house every Tuesday for 3 months while I was at work. I felt something crack inside me. I kept watching the footage. Both cars stayed for 3 hours and 42 minutes. Then they left, one after the other. I checked the previous Tuesday. Same pattern the Tuesday before that. Same 12 weeks in a row. 47 separate incidents, all on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. I thought it was an affair. I thought my husband was cheating on me with someone and my son knew about it, but I was wrong. What I discovered over the next 2 weeks wasn't just infidelity, it was conspiracy, it was fraud, it was attempted murder, and the target was me. Thursday morning, September 5th, 2024. I was in my hotel room in Nashville with my laptop open. The security footage played on the screen. Tuesday, September 3rd, 1 p.m., a silver SUV pulled into my driveway. License plate 4 Charlie Romeo 789. Robert's car. 10 minutes later, a black sedan arrived. License plate 8 Delta Tango 425. Michael's car. Both stayed for 3 hours and 42 minutes. I scrolled backward. Tuesday, August 27th. Same pattern. Tuesday, August 20th. Same pattern. 12 consecutive weeks, 47 incidents. Always Tuesdays at 1 p.m. every week while I was at work. I opened Excel and documented everything. Dates, times, duration, license plates, screenshots, this was evidence. Then I remembered something. 6 months earlier, Robert had asked me to update our life insurance. He said we needed higher coverage because of rising healthcare costs. I hadn't questioned it. I pulled out the policy. Policy holder Linda Marie Patterson. Coverage $4.2 million. Issue date March 22, 2024. Beneficiary Robert James Patterson. I stared at the signature line. It looked like mine. Almost. I compared it to my passport signature. The slant was different, the pressure inconsistent, the loop on the L slightly wider. Someone had forged my name. My hands shook. This wasn't an affair, this was preparation. I opened my bank statements. Transfers to Michael's account $92,000, 13 payments labeled family support. Robert had been funding him quietly. I texted Michael. "Hey honey, how are you? Haven't heard from you in a while." He replied 2 minutes later. "I'm good, Mom, just busy with work, miss you." I stared at the heart emoji, then I noticed something else. Tuesday, September 4th, 8:52 p.m. last night. Michael's car pulled into the driveway. He was alone. He went into the garage, walked to my car, opened the hood, crouched near the front wheel for 3 minutes. Then he closed the hood, grabbed something from the dashboard, and left. I replayed it 3 times. Why open the hood? Why crouch near the wheel? Why at night? A cold feeling settled in my chest. I called Thomas Harper, my attorney. "Thomas, I need to see you today." "What's going on?" "I think my husband is planning something." That afternoon, I met him in his office in downtown Atlanta. "This is everything," I said, sliding the portfolio across his desk. Security footage showing a 12-week pattern, a forged life insurance policy worth $4.2 million. $92,000 transferred to my son, and last night Michael was in my garage doing something to my car. Thomas reviewed the documents. After 20 minutes, his expression darkened. "Linda, this goes beyond fraud. This could be conspiracy to cause serious harm. I know. What do you want to do?" "I want to know what they're planning, then I want to stop it." He leaned back. "You'll need help. I know a private investigator, former FBI. Jessica Martinez, set it up. I'll call her now." That evening, I checked into a different hotel, not the one Robert knew about. Tomorrow, I would drive back to Atlanta for work. I opened my laptop and created a new document case file: Patterson investigation. I typed everything: dates, transactions, footage, patterns, but one image haunted me. Michael crouched near my car's front wheel in the dark. What was he doing? Why 3 full minutes? I stared at the frozen frame. My son, my only child, doing something to my car in secret. Whatever they were planning, it was in motion, and tomorrow morning I would be driving that car. Jessica Martinez's office was in a renovated building in Virginia Highland. The space felt professional, case files stacked on a modern desk, certificates from her FBI days covering one wall. She was maybe early 40s with sharp eyes that assessed me the moment I walked in. "Mrs. Patterson, Thomas spoke highly of you." "Linda, please." I set my portfolio on her desk. "I need your help." For the next 20 minutes, I walked her through everything: the security footage, the forged insurance policy, the financial transfers, the pattern of Tuesday visits spanning 3 months. Jessica flipped through the documents, occasionally making notes. When I finished, she sat back and studied me. "You've already done half my job," she tapped the portfolio. "You sure you're not FBI, corporate fraud investigator?" "Close enough." She pulled out a contract. "Here's what I can do: full background check on any unknown persons involved, GPS trackers on your husband's and son's vehicles. And I can upgrade your home surveillance system with enhanced audio. If they're planning something, I'll catch it." "How long?" "Background checks take 48 to 72 hours. Trackers I can install tonight. Audio by tomorrow." "What's the cost?" $15,000, half upfront, half on completion." I pulled out my checkbook. "I'll pay the full amount now." Jessica raised an eyebrow. "Most people negotiate. I don't have time to negotiate." Friday and Saturday passed in a strange limbo. I stayed at the hotel working remotely, telling Robert I was on an extended audit in Birmingham. He didn't question it. Why would he? I traveled for work all the time. Jessica texted updates. Trackers installed. Audio live, working on background. I watched the GPS dots on my phone. Robert's Mercedes moved between the house and his consulting office. Predictable. Michael's sedan made trips I couldn't quite figure out, a pharmacy in Decatur, a parking garage downtown, back to his apartment in Virginia Highland. Saturday evening, his car parked at our house for 3 hours. The audio picked up voices, Robert and Michael, discussing something in low tones I couldn't quite make out. But the fact they were meeting without me, planning without me, told me everything I needed. Sunday afternoon, Jessica's report arrived in my email. 142 pages. I read every word. Subject: Nicole Ann Sawyer. Age 31, occupation pharmaceutical sales representative, MedPharm Solutions. Annual income $71,000 plus commission, debt $18,934. Credit score 538. The details painted a picture of desperation. Student loans she'd defaulted on, credit cards maxed out, a car lease she was 4 months behind on. But the most interesting detail was buried on page 47. Connection to Michael Patterson, met 3 years ago at LA Fitness Buckhead location. Regular workout partners 2021 to 2022. Social media shows frequent contact through 2024, 3 years. Michael had known Nicole for 3 years, long before Robert's affair started. I cross-referenced the financial data. Roberts transfers to Nicole $19,000 over 6 months, the same time frame as his transfers to Michael. This wasn't a simple affair. This was coordination, conspiracy. Nicole was desperate. Robert had money, or at least access to the insurance payout he thought I didn't know about. And Michael was the connection between them. 3 people, 3 motives, 1 target: me. Sunday evening, I finally went home. Robert was in the living room watching the Falcons game, beer in hand. He looked up when I walked in, smiled that easy smile I'd fallen in love with 34 years ago. "Hey hun, how was Birmingham?" "Exhausting." I set my bag down, crossed to him, kissed his cheek. He smelled like beer and aftershave, familiar and ordinary. "Glad you're back." "Me too." I sat beside him on the couch, watched him cheer at a touchdown, felt the weight of his arm around my shoulders, and thought I know everything. Every transfer, every lie, every Tuesday they'd spent in my home planning my death while I was 60 miles away auditing someone else's fraud. I leaned into him, played the role I'd played for 3 decades, the devoted wife. The woman they thought was too trusting, too naive, too distracted by work to notice. The woman whose life insurance policy was worth $4.2 million. Monday morning, September 16th. I woke up feeling strange. Dizzy, my head pounded. I went to take my blood pressure medication, the daily pill I'd been on for 2 years to keep my hypertension under control. I opened the medicine cabinet in the upstairs bathroom. The bottle was gone. I checked the other cabinets, the kitchen, the nightstand, everywhere. It was gone. Only one medication was missing. The most important one. My blood pressure had been high for the past 2 years, 145/98. My doctor had prescribed a daily medication to keep it under control. If I stopped taking it suddenly, my blood pressure would spike within days. Stroke risk, heart attack risk. This wasn't random, this was targeted. I immediately called my pharmacy. "This is Linda Patterson. I need an emergency refill on my blood pressure medication." The bottle went missing. The pharmacist hesitated. "Mrs. Patterson, your insurance only covers 1 refill per month. You just picked this up 2 weeks ago." "I understand. I'll pay out of pocket. This is an emergency." "All right, it'll be ready in an hour." Then I called Jessica Martinez. "Jessica, I need you to review the footage from this weekend. Someone came into the house. I need to know who took my medication." Jessica called back 30 minutes later. "Linda, I found it. Saturday, 11:23 a.m. Michael entered through the garage. He went upstairs. He entered the bathroom. He opened the medicine cabinet. He took a prescription bottle and put it in his jacket pocket. Total time 48 seconds. I closed my eyes. Send me the footage." "Already done." "Check your email." I watched the footage 3 times. There was no doubt. My son had stolen my medication. That evening, I sat at my desk and opened the case file. I created a new entry, attack number 1, medication theft. Date September 14, 2024, 11:23 a.m. Location upstairs bathroom. Perpetrator Michael Patterson confirmed via security footage. Item stolen blood pressure medication. Lisinopril 20 mg. Intent medical harm via medication denial. Evidence security footage 48 seconds. Pharmacy emergency refill request. Risk level medium. Status first escalation. Monitoring required. I leaned back in my chair. This was no longer just suspicion. This was a pattern: the forged insurance policy, the financial transfers, and now stealing my medication. They were trying to harm me slowly, carefully, in ways that could look accidental or natural. I called Jessica again. Jessica, I need you to upgrade the audio surveillance. 24/7, every room. I need to know what they're planning next. She replied immediately, already done. I upgraded the system this afternoon while you were at the pharmacy. Every room is covered. If they say anything, we'll hear it. Wednesday morning, September 18th. I left for Birmingham at 6:30 for a client meeting. 92 miles northwest. The roads were clear, the sun just rising over the Georgia pines. I'd been driving 43 minutes when it happened. Eminis 20 west, approaching the exit for Douglasville, speed 70 mph. A gentle downhill slope. I touched the brake pedal, nothing. I pressed harder. The pedal went straight to the floor, no resistance, no response. My speed stayed at 70. Ahead of me, traffic was slowing for the exit. Red brake lights blooming like warnings I couldn't heed. I pumped the brakes. Nothing. Slammed them. Nothing. No, no, no. I downshifted. The engine screamed in protest, but the car began to slow. I yanked the emergency brake. The rear wheels locked and the car fishtailed. I fought the wheels, steering toward the shoulder. The guardrail rushed up. Metal screamed as my car scraped along it, sparks flying. The noise was deafening. Finally, the car shuddered to a stop. I sat there, hands locked on the wheel, shaking so hard I couldn't let go, and then I broke, just completely broke, sobbing, gasping. 35 years of control shattering on a highway shoulder at 7:18 in the morning. They'd really tried to kill me. Officer Bradley arrived 20 minutes after I called 911. He was young, maybe 30, with kind eyes that went hard when he inspected my car. "Ma'am, your brake line's been cut." "What?" "Not all the way through, partial cut." "Deliberate?" He crouched by the front wheel, took photos with his phone. "See here, someone cut about 3/4 of the way through. It's calculated. The line holds long enough to get you on the highway, then fails under pressure." My hands were still shaking. "How long would that take?" 30 to 60 minutes of driving, long enough that you'd be at speed when it happened, long enough that a crash would look like an accident. He wrote up a report. I kept my explanation vague. Accountant, possible retaliation from an old case, didn't want to speculate. He gave me his card and called a tow truck. I called Jessica, check the garage footage. Last night, 30 seconds later, September 17th, 8:56 p.m., Michael's there for 12 minutes alone. "Send it to me." I called Thomas. He agreed to pick me up, no questions asked. Then I called Frank Duca, the mechanic Jessica had recommended, former military. He met us at the impound lot. He spent 10 minutes under my car, then emerged wiping grease from his hands. Professional job, clean cut. Whoever did this knew what they were doing. They researched this. "Can you document it?" Already took 50 photos. That evening, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Robert called first. "Linda, oh my God, I just heard. Are you okay?" "I'm coming to get you right now." "I'm fine. Thomas already picked me up." "Are you sure? I can be there in an hour." "Robert, I'm fine. I just need to rest." I hung up before he could argue. 30 seconds later, Michael called. His voice was panicked, breathless. "Mom, oh my God, Mom, I heard about the accident. Are you okay? I would die if something happened to you. I'm coming over right now." "Michael, I'm not home. I'm at a hotel. I'm fine." "Which hotel?" "I'll come there. I need to rest, sweetheart. I'll call you tomorrow." I ended the call and stared at my phone. Robert's concern, Michael's panic, both of them desperate to see me, to know where I was, to assess the damage. "You did this," I thought, looking at Michael's name on my screen. "You went into my garage at 8:56 p.m. and cut my brake line 3/4 of the way through. You calculated the time it would take to fail. You researched how to make it look like an accident, and now you're calling me crying, saying you'd die if something happened to me." I opened my laptop and added another entry to my case file. Attack 2, brake line sabotage. Attempted vehicular homicide. Subject Michael Patterson, risk level high, they're escalating. Thursday, September 19th, 2024, 2 p.m., I sat in Detective Lieutenant Sarah Brennan's office at the Atlanta Police Department Major Crimes Division. I placed my leather portfolio on her desk. 147 pieces of evidence, security footage, financial records, forged insurance documents, private investigator reports, police reports on brake sabotage. Audio recordings, she read carefully. After 15 minutes, she looked up. Mrs. Patterson, in 20 years as a detective, I have never seen a civilian build a case file this detailed. I'm an accountant. I know how to follow evidence. She nodded. We have grounds to open a criminal investigation. Conspiracy, attempted harm, insurance fraud, forgery, sabotage, but there's a problem. My chest tightened. What problem? The listening devices and GPS trackers your private investigator installed were placed without a court order. Defense attorneys will argue the evidence was obtained illegally. They'll move to suppress it. The judge may agree, so everything Jessica found is useless? Not useless, vulnerable, we need to legitimize it, she explained. What you've gathered gives us probable cause. The forged insurance policy, financial transfers, brake sabotage, those are solid. But audio recordings of private conversations are in a legal gray area. What do? We get a court order. I'll petition a judge for a surveillance order under exigent circumstances. You've survived 2 attempts, there's clear danger, a judge will grant it. She leaned forward. Once I have that order, anything we record is admissible, clean. Unquestionable, but you stay quiet, don't confront them. If they suspect you know, they'll stop talking. How long? I'll file this afternoon. Emergency orders can be granted within hours. What happens after? We set up a controlled scenario. You go home, act vulnerable, give them an opportunity to try again, you'll be wired, we'll have a tactical team within 1 minute. The moment they confess on tape under a legal court order, we move in. Friday, September 20th. Detective Brennan called at 9 a.m. We have the order, judge signed it an hour ago, everything from this point forward is legally protected evidence. Relief flooded through me, meet me this afternoon. Assistant District Attorney Michael Torres wants to review the case. That afternoon, I sat across from Brennan and Torres in a conference room. Torres reviewed my file slowly. After 30 minutes, he looked up. This is one of the most well-documented conspiracy cases I've seen. The forged signature is prosecutable. The brake sabotage is attempted harm. The financial transfers establish motive. But we need the final piece. What piece? A confession. We need them to say on tape that they plan to harm you and why. We need them to discuss the insurance money. I can get that. Torres leaned forward. You understand the risk. You're putting yourself in immediate danger. I understand. You're willing to wear a recording device? Yes. Brennan laid out the plan. We'll equip you with a body camera and microphone. You'll have a panic bracelet. A tactical team will be within 1 minute. If anything goes wrong, press the button 3 times or say, I need some fresh air. We breach within 30 seconds. She continued. Go home, act shaken, let them think you're vulnerable. Create an opportunity. When they try again, we'll be listening legally. The moment they confess, we take them down. When do we start? This weekend. Saturday and Sunday you train with our technical specialist. Sunday night you go home, you set the trap, we finish this. Sunday afternoon, October 6, 2024, I came home for the first time since Tuesday. Robert was watching football. He stood when he saw me. Honey, you're home. How are you feeling? I walked slowly as if still shaken. I'm okay, just tired. The accident really scared me. He hugged me. I'm so glad you're safe. I leaned into him, playing a frightened wife. Monday morning, Michael visited with flowers and coffee. Mom, I've been so worried about you. We sat in the kitchen drinking tea. I've been thinking maybe it's time to retire early. This accident made me realize life is too short. I want to spend more time with family. Michael's eyes lit up. Really? That's amazing, Mom. But I saw panic flash across his face. If I retired, I'd be home all the time. Robert's affair would be impossible to hide. Later, Michael asked, have you thought about your will recently? I smiled. Oh, I updated it a few months ago. Everything's taken care of. That was a lie. I'd changed my will with Thomas Harper. Everything now went into an irrevocable trust. Michael would receive only income payments. Robert got nothing, but they didn't need to know yet. Sunday afternoon, I went upstairs to nap, but I was listening. Through Jessica's audio device, I heard every word in the kitchen. Robert was on the phone. Nicole's voice came through on speaker. The brake thing failed. She survived. Police have a report. We can't try mechanical again. Nicole, what do we do? Something untraceable. I have pharmaceutical-grade sedatives, midazolam. It mimics natural heart failure, especially after a traumatic accident. No autopsy catches it unless they're looking. They won't be. How do we give it to her? Wine, family dinner, she drinks. 20 minutes later she feels dizzy, lies down, breathing slows, heart stops. You call 911. They see a 62-year-old woman who survived a car crash, stress-induced heart failure, natural causes. Robert hesitated. Are you sure? It's foolproof, but it has to be this weekend. She's retiring. If she's home all the time, everything falls apart. Now or never. What do we do after? Move her to the bedroom, make it look like she was resting. When Robert calls 911, act devastated. The examiner sees what we want. The insurance money, $4.2 million 30 days after death certificate, split 1.5 for Michael, 600,000 for me, 2.1 for Robert. Sunday dinner. Make it happen. I lay still, heart pounding. They were planning to end my life tonight. I texted Detective Brennan. Tonight, 7 p.m., sedative in wine ready, she replied. Positioned by 6 p.m., stay calm, don't drink. Let them confess, we move in. Sunday morning I called Michael, come for dinner tonight, just us three, I want to talk about retirement. His voice was cheerful. Perfect, Mom, 6:30, I stared at my reflection. Tonight I'd sit with my husband and son, they'd try to end my life, I'd let them think they were succeeding because I needed their confession. 7 months, Robert, you planned to harm me for 7 months. It took me 1 week to stop everything, tonight it would end. At 5 p.m. I visited Mrs. Garrett. She hugged me. Be careful tonight, dear, I whispered. You saved my life, Helen, that first call. She held my hands. Now you're saving your own. I walked back outside. October air was cold. Through my window, Robert set the table, 3 plates, 3 wine glasses. I touched my collar where the camera would be. This was it. Tonight, justice would be served. Sunday, October 6th, 2024, 5:30 p.m., 2 hours before dinner. I stood in Mrs. Garrett's living room. Through the window, my house looked ordinary, peaceful. No one passing by would know it was about to become a crime scene. Detective Lieutenant Sarah Brennan was setting up equipment. Deputy Martinez tested radio frequencies. 3 houses down, a white van disguised as a cable repair vehicle monitored every signal. Nina Rodriguez stepped forward carrying a small black case. She was in her 30s, former military with steady hands and calm eyes. This will take about 15 minutes, she said. She opened the case. Inside were 3 devices. First, the camera. This clips to your collar. It's the size of a dime. The lens is hidden inside what looks like a decorative button. She attached it carefully to my blouse. Video check. Detective Brennan glanced at her laptop. Clear image, audio good. Next, the microphone. This will be taped to your sternum. It picks up voices within 20 feet, even whispers. Nina pressed the cold metal device against my chest and secured it with medical tape. I felt it against my skin, cold, unyielding, a constant reminder that this wasn't just an investigation on paper anymore. This was real. This was dangerous. Breathe normally, Nina said. Don't touch it. If something feels wrong, cough twice and we'll check the feed. Finally, the panic bracelet. It looks like jewelry, but if you press this button 3 times in quick succession, our tactical team enters within 30 seconds. She fastened it around my wrist. Only use it if you're in immediate physical danger, otherwise let them talk. We need their full confession on tape. Nina stepped back. Now we test everything. Say something. I spoke clearly. This is Linda Patterson, testing audio. Detective Brennan checked her screen. Perfect, we're receiving everything, Nina nodded. Now the panic signal, say the code phrase. I took a breath. I need some fresh air. Immediately, Deputy Martinez's radio crackled. Code phrase received, signal clear. Detective Brennan looked at me. If you say that phrase or press the button, we breach within 30 seconds. No hesitation, she continued. One last review, you go home at 6:28, act normal. If they offer wine, do not drink it. Use the diversion technique we practiced. Pour it into the plant when they're not looking. Then pretend to feel dizzy, lie on the couch, pretend to pass out, let them believe it worked. That's when they'll talk freely. I nodded. I understand. Assistant District Attorney Michael Torres spoke. The moment they verbally confirm intent, motive, and coordination, we have enough to prosecute. But if you feel unsafe at any point, trigger the signal immediately. Detective Brennan added, 6 officers are in position. 2 in the van monitoring live feed, 2 on foot patrol disguised as joggers, 1 inside this house with direct sight to your front door, 1 behind your property covering the rear exit. She met my eyes. We've got you covered, Mrs. Patterson. I looked around the room at all of them. Thank you, all of you. Detective Brennan rested a hand on my shoulder. What you're doing tonight takes extraordinary courage. Most people wouldn't be able to stay this calm. I replied, I'm an accountant. I've spent 35 years following evidence trails. This is just another case. She gave a tight smile. Another case where your life is on the line. Yes, I said, but I won't let them win. At 6:15, I walked next door one last time. Mrs. Garrett wrapped me in a tight embrace. Her hands were shaking. Be careful, dear. Please? I whispered, you saved my life, Helen. That phone call saved me. She squeezed my hands. Now finish it. I walked back outside. The October air was cold. The sun dipped low behind the houses. Through my kitchen window, I saw Robert pouring wine into 3 glasses. Then he reached into his pocket. A small vial. He glanced around, then emptied it into the glass on the left. My glass. I steadied my breathing. I adjusted the camera on my collar. I felt the microphone cold against my chest. I touched the panic bracelet on my wrist. Detective Brennan's voice came through a small earpiece Nina had placed in my ear. Mrs. Patterson, it's 6:28. You know what to do. We're right behind you. I took one last deep breath, then I opened the front door. Honey, I'm home. I walked into the kitchen. Robert stood at the stove, stirring marinara. The smell of lasagna filled the house. On the counter sat 3 wine glasses, red wine already poured. Robert looked up and smiled. Hey honey, you're just in time. I smiled back. Smells amazing. Behind that smile I saw a threat. The doorbell rang. That must be Michael, Robert said. I opened the door. Michael stood there with a small bouquet. Hi Mom, he hugged me tightly. I hugged him back, the cold metal of the camera brooch pressing against my chest, every word. Every movement. The Atlanta Police Department was recording it all. We sat at the table. Robert raised his glass, to family, to the good days ahead. Michael lifted his, to Mom. I studied the wine before me. This was the contaminated glass. I knew it. The detectives knew it. I couldn't let them suspect. Detective Brennan had trained me for hours. Do not let the glass touch your lips. Do not swallow anything. The substance can absorb through the mouth in seconds. I lifted the glass and let it brush my lips without drinking. Then I set it down and smiled. This wine is delicious. Robert watched me, then nodded, satisfied. 5 minutes later, Michael went to the kitchen for water. This was my chance. I dropped my napkin. Sorry. As I bent, I poured most of the wine into the potted plant beside the table. 3 seconds, that was all. When Michael returned, my glass was nearly empty. Robert glanced at it and smiled. You drank that fast. You know I love red wine. We ate. Robert checked his watch. 7:05, then 7:10. The substance should have worked by now. I was still talking, smiling. At 7:15, I stood slowly, bracing myself. I'm feeling dizzy. I need to lie down. They exchanged a glance. Do you want help to the bedroom? Robert asked. I'll rest on the couch. I lay down, closed my eyes, slowed my breathing, and went limp. From the kitchen, Robert whispered, Is she out? I don't know, Michael said. Nicole said 10 to 20 minutes. It's been almost an hour. Maybe she didn't drink enough. She drank the whole glass. I saw her. Michael knelt beside me, checking my pulse. It's weak. Breathing is slow. He lifted my eyelid, shined his phone. Pupils dilated. She's unconscious. Good, Robert said. Call Nicole. Michael put the phone on speaker. Nicole answered. Is it done? It's done, Robert said. She's out. Check her pupils. Dilated, no response. Move her to the bedroom, Nicole said. On the bed, like a nap on the couch, raises questions. And then, wait 20 minutes, call 911, say she won't wake up, stress-related heart failure. No suspicion, Michael whispered. The insurance? 4.2 million, Nicole said. Robert gets 2.1, you get 1.5, I get 600,000, Michael frowned. Why do I get more? Because you're her son, Nicole said. No one questions that. Robert nodded. All right, Michael, Nicole said. Carry Mom to the bedroom. Robert bent to lift me. I opened my eyes and looked straight at him. He stumbled back. How are you? I didn't drink the wine, I said calmly. Michael went pale. Mom, did you hear everything? Nicole screamed through the phone. Hang up. I opened my coat and showed the camera. The Atlanta Police Department recorded all of this. Robert shook. You planned this? 7 months, I said. You planned to harm me for 7 months. It took me 1 week to stop you. The front door burst open. Atlanta police, hands up now. 6 officers stormed into the house, weapons drawn, hands where we can see them, on the ground now. Robert raised his hands, trembling. Michael screamed, no, no, this isn't on the ground. Robert dropped to his knees, then lay flat on the floor. Michael hesitated, tears streaming down his face. Oh, Mom, please. An officer grabbed his arm and pulled him down. Within seconds, both of them were handcuffed. Detective Lieutenant Sarah Brennan walked in wearing a tactical vest. She looked at me. Mrs. Patterson, are you all right? I nodded, my voice steady. I'm fine. She turned to Robert and Michael. Robert Patterson, Michael Patterson, you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, and insurance fraud. She read them their Miranda rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. Robert was sobbing. Linda, please, I didn't want this. It was Nicole. She convinced me. I never wanted to hurt you. You have the right to remain silent, the officer repeated firmly. Michael turned to me, his face streaked with tears. Mom, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I was desperate. I didn't know what else to do, the debt, the pressure. I looked at him, my voice cold. You cut my brake line, Michael. You tried to harm me on the highway at 70 miles per hour. He shook his head frantically. It wasn't supposed to be like that. Nicole said it would be quick, that you wouldn't feel anything, that it would look like an accident. Stop talking, the officer snapped, but it was too late. Every word was being recorded. Another officer entered, holding up a phone. Detective, we have Nicole Sawyer on the line. She's still connected. Detective Brennan took the phone. Miss Sawyer, this is Detective Lieutenant Sarah Brennan with the Atlanta Police Department. We have a warrant for your arrest. Officers are en route to your location right now. There was silence on the other end, then Nicole's voice, ice cold. You recorded everything. Yes, and you have enough to prosecute, more than enough, Nicole laughed bitterly. Well played, Mrs. Patterson, well played. The line went dead. Robert was led out first, still sobbing. Michael looked back at me one last time as the officers guided him toward the door. He mouthed the words, Mom, please. I looked away. He was taken outside into the waiting patrol car. Detective Brennan approached me. Mrs. Patterson will need you to come to the station tomorrow to give a formal statement. But for tonight, you should stay somewhere safe. Is there anyone you can call? I nodded. Mrs. Garrett, my neighbor. Good, Deputy Martinez will escort you. I looked around the house. The dining table still had the lasagna, the wine glasses, the flowers Michael had brought. It looked like a normal family dinner, but it wasn't. It was a crime scene. I walked into the kitchen. The wine bottle was still on the counter. Detective Brennan followed me. We'll need to test that. I picked up the bottle carefully and handed it to her. Nicole said it was a sedative, something that would stop my heart and look like natural causes. She nodded grimly. We'll run a full toxicology analysis. I stared at the bottle. This was supposed to end my life. This was supposed to be the last thing I ever drank, but I was still here. I survived. I fought back, and I won. Detective Brennan placed a hand on my shoulder. Mrs. Patterson, what you did tonight took incredible courage. Most people wouldn't have been able to stay that calm. I looked at her. I'm an accountant detective. I've spent 35 years finding fraud, uncovering lies, and following evidence. This was just another case. She smiled slightly. Another case where the target was your own life. I nodded, yes. But I wasn't going to let them win. That night, I stayed at Mrs. Garrett's house. She made me tea and held my hand while I cried. You're safe now, dear, she whispered. You're safe? But I wasn't thinking about safety. I was thinking about the trial. I was thinking about the evidence. I was thinking about justice. 2 weeks later, Nicole Sawyer was arrested at her apartment in Buckhead. She didn't resist. She didn't say a word. She was charged with conspiracy to commit murder, distribution of controlled substances with intent to harm, and insurance fraud. 3 months later, the trial began, and I was ready. The trial had begun in December. The prosecution presented 147 pieces of evidence: security footage, audio recordings, financial records, forensic reports from my car, from the wine bottle, from the forged insurance policy. I testified for 5 hours, answered every question calmly, factually, walked the jury through the timeline, the phone call from Mrs. Garrett, the 47 incidents I'd logged, the medication theft, the break line, the dinner. The prosecutor asked me, Mrs. Patterson, the defendant is your son. How do you feel about testifying against him? I looked at Michael. He was staring at the table, wouldn't meet my eyes. I feel, I said, that I'm doing the right thing. The defense attorneys tried everything. Michael's lawyer argued diminished capacity due to gambling addiction, claimed he'd been manipulated by older, more sophisticated conspirators. Robert's lawyer claimed coercion, said Nicole had controlled him, threatened him, forced his participation. Nicole's lawyer argued the evidence was circumstantial, no direct proof of intent, but then the prosecution played the audio. All of it, Nicole's voice giving instructions on how to fake a natural death, Robert and Michael discussing the insurance payout, the break line confession, the medication theft, the money split argument. And finally, Michael's voice cold and clear, carry Mom to the bedroom. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. When they came back, the verdict was unanimous. Robert Patterson guilty on all counts. Michael Patterson guilty on all counts. Nicole Sawyer guilty on all counts. Sentencing came 2 weeks later, January 15, 2025. The judge was a woman in her 60s, gray-haired with sharp eyes that had seen too many criminals try to justify the unjustifiable. The conspiracy to murder a wife and mother for financial gain, she said, demonstrates an extreme disregard for human life. The defendants planned this crime for 7 months. They made 2 previous attempts on Mrs. Patterson's life and they have shown no remorse. She looked at Robert first. Robert Patterson, 18 years in federal prison. Robert's head dropped. His lawyer put a hand on his shoulder. Then she turned to Michael. Michael Patterson, the court recognizes your age, 26 years old. Ordinarily, youth might be a mitigating factor, but your actions demonstrate sophisticated planning, deliberate execution, and a complete absence of empathy. You targeted your own mother, you cut her break lines, you called her a body. The judge's voice hardened. There will be no mercy, 20 years in federal prison. Michael's face crumpled. He started crying. Finally, Nicole. Nicole Sawyer, you orchestrated this conspiracy. You provided the means and method. You manipulated 2 people into committing murder, 22 years in federal prison. The judge's gavel came down. These are federal sentences. There is no parole. No parole. That meant they'd serve at least 85% of their time. Michael would be 48 when he got out. Robert would be 81. Nicole would be 55. As the guards led Michael away, he turned back, looked at me in the gallery. His face was streaked with tears, his eyes desperate. He mouthed 2 words. Mom, please. I looked away, looked straight ahead at the empty judge's bench. And I didn't look back. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived at my new apartment. A prison envelope. Michael's handwriting, neat and careful on the front. I sat at my kitchen table and stared at it for 10 minutes. Then I stood up, walked to my office, and fed it into the paper shredder. I didn't read it. I didn't need to know what it said. He'd had his chance to speak to me, at the dinner table where he'd tried to poison me. In the living room where he'd discussed moving my body, in the courtroom where he'd claimed to be a victim. I was done listening. I was done being his mother. The shredder whirred, the envelope disappeared into thin strips of paper, and I walked away. October 2025, 1 year later, I stood in front of a support group at a crisis center in downtown Atlanta and said the words I never thought I'd say out loud. My name is Linda and my son tried to murder me for insurance money. 12 faces looked back at me, some nodded, some looked away, all of them understood. I'm a forensic accountant, I continued. 1 year ago, I discovered my husband's affair. My son was helping him. Together with his mistress, they planned to kill me for $4.2 million. I took a breath, kept going. They tried 3 times. They stole my medication, they cut my break lines, they poisoned my wine. A woman in the front row pressed her hand to her mouth. Now they're in federal prison. My husband got 18 years, my son got 20. The mistress got 22. I looked around the room, saw pain, saw recognition, saw people who'd been where I was. I'm telling you this because I want you to know something. You can survive betrayal, you can fight back, you can win. I paused. Let that sink in. But winning isn't the end, healing is a process. There are days I'm angry, days I'm so sad I can barely get out of bed, days I just exist, go through the motions, feel nothing. I saw heads nodding. The point is, keep moving forward, document everything, every text, every email, every conversation, trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is, and don't be afraid to ask for help. When I sat down, 3 people came up to thank me, to tell me their stories, to ask questions. This was why I came every Sunday, to this room, to these people, because if I could help one person avoid what I went through, it was worth it. I'm 63 years old now. I live in a small apartment in Midtown Atlanta. I go to therapy twice a month. I attend the support group every Sunday. I have coffee with Helen every week. I don't talk to my son. I don't visit him. I don't read his letters. Maybe someday I will. Maybe someday I'll be ready, but not today. Today I'm helping others build their cases. I'm mentoring 2 women through their own investigations. I'm consulting with attorneys on financial fraud cases. I survived. I fought back, I won, and now I'm helping others do the same. That's enough, that's more than enough. Take care, you guys.